Hi folks, today we're going to take a look at a pastor who goes full Karen and thinks she knows more about the law than the cops. And for transparency's sake, this is an older video. But before we start today's video, as always, a big thank you to all of my current and new channel members and subscribers. Without your guys' continuous ongoing support, I couldn't keep the channel going, so I want to thank you all personally from the bottom of my heart. And if you're new to this channel, please subscribe to the page. Leave a like and a comment because it really helps me with the algorithm. And if you can, please consider becoming a member. But not only that, if you're not familiar, Jim of ReallyCoolNews site has his own YouTube channel called ReallyCoolNews. He does daily uploads of current events going on in the frauding, soft sid, and, well, craziness that happens all over the internet and YouTube. Please subscribe to his channel. I'll put a link down there in the description box for this video. With all that being said, let's enjoy today's video.
Sergeant Brochu.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Where's Ryan?
He's in the back of the car. You can talk to him.
I can.
Mm-hmm.
He's going back in that church.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I'm sorry, he's not.
We'll find out. You do not have the authority to come into a church and arrest anybody.
I was never asked to leave. I was never denied access to the church.
You do not have the authority.
It was not with the intent,
I don't.
like I said, to violate anybody's rights or anything like that. We got word that he had come here and we were trying to locate him.
For what purpose?
I have a domestic violence victim, and that, as far as that is concerned, takes priority over, and their safety takes priority.
Their safety does not allow you to violate the law of this country, and that's what you just did.
If I would have
Actually, you're wrong here, because they did not violate anybody's civil rights, and they did not violate his rights. In fact, they had a moral and lawful duty to go in there and arrest him. He committed a very serious crime, domestic violence, where he ended up putting somebody in the hospital because of that. They did not kick in the doors, and they were not asked to leave. They were invited in, and he cooperated with them and was arrested. So you may feel like you're in the right here, but you're actually wrong, Karen.
asked you to come into your church, would you have let me? Because I asked
We had
everybody else
people
here,
helping
and
us try to
everybody else
find
didn't
You
have an
can
issue with
come
it.
in. You cannot arrest
we sure can.
anybody in the sanctuary of this place.
sure can.
You cannot. It is
It was
illegal.
not the intention to violate the sanctuary
So
area of the
sorry, I
church.
don't know about your intention, but here's what I do know.
We were
We're
trying to
gonna get to the
locate
bottom
him.
of it. I
That's
understand
fine.
you're trying to locate him, and I respect what you do. We need you. But you need to respect the sanctity of this institution.
You guys have a seat in your car, so.
Yeah, this is going to take a while. It's great when you do your job where you have the authority to do it, but nobody handed him over to you. You came in, you did not have the authority to arrest him in this sanctuary.
We came in.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
looking
You
for
came in
looking
looking
for him
for
because
him.
we have a victim
That-
that
I
is in jeopardy with
understand.
him on the loose.
I understand.
And we had people within the church trying to help us find him.
You have no authority to arrest him on this property.
If somebody had asked me to leave and say, no, he's not here, and you're not, you know, you can't
I
be
did
here.
ask you to wait for me to come here, and you
Correct.
chose
And
not
that was
to.
that was
That is
after
not
we already
okay.
had him in custody.
And there are witnesses. No, no, it wasn't.
Yes, that was
No,
after
it
we already
wasn't.
had
I
him in
had the
custody.
secretary on the phone. She was telling me
And he was
everything.
already in custody in
Sorry.
handcuffs.
And you have no authority to put him in handcuffs or to arrest him in that building. None.
I understand
None.
where you're coming from.
No.
Now, I do understand her passion. She is the pastor of that church, and nobody wants their temple of worship violated. I mean, one of the key important things of the First Amendment is the freedom of religion. But you have to understand something. We had a person commit a serious, violent crime hiding out in a church where there was a daycare attached and there were other people there. The police acted with the proper authority and lawful right to enter the church, to seize a violent suspect, and arrest him before he hurt himself or anybody else.
But I have a job to protect the victim here.
I have a job.
And I understand
I have
that.
a job to protect the sanctity of this institution.
I understand that, and I respect that 100%.
This is in the news every day, Sergeant Brochu. Every day. Churches are a sanctuary. Even the federal government cannot come in and arrest somebody. You, East Haven
If the
police,
circumstances
have no option.
if it was under those circumstances, I would understand and I would agree with you 100%. It wasn't like that.
This is not going to go.
That's why I even had him sit down, and I asked your secretary to call you, so he had the ability to speak to you first.
It doesn't change the fact that you have no authority to do what you did.
With all due respect, what the fuck are you talking about?
So, how are you?
How are you? Good. Lieutenant Murgo.
Nice to meet you.
Good. What's going on?
You tell me. This is a church.
Correct.
We're protected by federal law and state law. It is a place of sanctuary and refuge.
Okay. I understand.
Your officer came inside and arrested a young man that was in there, and they have no authority in that building to do any such thing, period.
You realize that
And I
Shenanigans.
Na 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 na
Shenanigans.
na 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 na.
And we're calling shenanigans, folks, because she's wrong about this. The practice of sanctuary is not a legal binding doctrine in this country. Now, it is practiced and withheld morally and ethically, but there is no law stating just because somebody claims sanctuary in a house of worship, they are immune from prosecution or arrest. This is something that was practiced from the Middle Ages all the way up to the late 1900s. But in this country, there is no law stating the police cannot arrest you inside of a church.
Domestic violence,
I do.
felony suspect.
I do, Lieutenant Murgo. And you realize that you see on the news all the time
Yes.
people taking sanctuary, refuge in a church,
Correct.
and even the federal law
Okay.
can't come in and get them because this place is a protected place.
I understand that.
Yes.
You sure about that? You sure about that? You sure about that?
You understand that he assaulted his mother to the fact that she's at the hospital now. We have a domestic violence victim at the hospital, and he's a felony suspect that was wanted for, amongst other things, assault in the second degree, interfering with a 911 emergency phone call. His family is terrified of him, okay? I understand what you're saying, all right? But if
It
there
doesn't
has
have to
be
be this way. You don't get to violate the law to enforce the law.
Ma'am.
You don't get to do that.
But
I
this is-
asked them to wait
Ma'am.
5 minutes.
we don't have that
5
time.
minutes. Oh,
we don't
yes,
have that time.
you do. Yes, you do.
Ma'am,
Yes, you do.
I understand.
No, they don't. This person committed a very serious, very violent crime, and now has locked himself in a church where there are small children and elderly people there. He could do great harm to them. They don't have time to wait for you to come. They had lawful right to enter the church, to remove him, put him in custody. They are allowing you to speak to this young man, to offer him some kind of religious counseling. But you don't have the right to dictate how they do their job when there is no laws being broken by them.
I understand what you're saying. You're very passionate about this, and I get it. I totally respect that, and this is no disrespect to the church.
It
With
is.
that being said,
It is a
with that
disrespect
being
to
said,
the
ma'am,
church.
with that being said, if there's going to be a mistake here, we're going to err on the side of caution,
Good.
and we're going to apprehend
And
the
you
suspect.
could have waited because they knew I was 5 minutes away.
Ma'am,
You
you
could-
don't, ma'am, you have nothing to
Listen.
do. You have nothing to do with a felony assault that took place.
I do when the person that's being charged is in my church.
We don't owe
I
anything
have
to the victim?
everything to do with it.
We don't owe anything
when the
to the
person
victim?
being charged is in my church.
We don't have anything. We don't have anything owed to the victim here. That's the thing here, and I understand.
Listen, I understand what you're saying, but what you don't seem to want to hear is that you didn't have the authority to do that.
Do what?
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Come into this church and arrest anybody. That young man could have been counseled by his pastor to walk out the door of that church, meet you in the parking lot.
And do you think that's what would have happened?
I do, because this is how it's supposed to work.
Okay,
Now, let's play out her scenario. Let's say she was able to go in there and talk to this young man. This young man who's already committed one act of violence against his family. Let's say while she's trying to offer him some spiritual counseling, he has a violent outburst and attacks her and barricades himself inside of the church. Now we have a potential hostage situation where not only is there a higher risk of your church being damaged, but somebody else being hurt because of this. I get where she's coming from. She wants to have a peaceful resolution. So do the cops. But when you have somebody who's already committed a severe act of violence in an area where there's potential more victims to be had, the police do have the right and the authority to go in there. And just because you're the pastor doesn't mean you can dictate what happens. There is laws saying that the police can go into a church and arrest a suspect.
You
but how
don't
it's supposed
get
to work,
come in.
Man, how it's supposed to work and how these things actually work are two different things, okay? So
Listen, I wasn't born yesterday, and I'm not appreciating this at all.
I get it.
I'm not appreciating this. I respect your work.
I'm just letting you know where
I
our
am not
stance is.
stupid.
I'm just letting you know.
Are you sure about that?
Where our stance is.
I
okay?
understand. You want to arrest the domestic violence perpetrator. I understand that.
Okay.
I get that.
Thank you.
I get that. I was a hospital chaplain at a regional trauma center for years.
Okay.
You want to know how much domestic violence I've seen? Much more than you've seen, probably.
Hopefully a lot, okay?
Much more than you've seen.
I understand
that
what you're saying.
young man is safe in that building, and until he comes out on his own, you have no authority.
Well,
you violated the law.
We violated the law.
You did.
Ma'am, I'm
did.
sorry,
You
but
did.
in this situation, all right, it was the better play for us to
It's
apprehend
not
a
the
violent
better
suspect.
Play. It is not.
It was our only play.
Not.
It was our only play at that point.
The young man would have walked out that door and turned himself in.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Just
ask away.
Do you think that in the real world, how your theory would have actually happened?
Do you have any idea about the relationship I have with that young man? No, you don't. Not one bit. All you see is the bad guy. That's all you see,
ma'am,
and you're going to take him away.
We have a victim that's at the hospital.
And I respect that. And I respect his rights, too. And what you didn't respect his rights at all.
Okay. Well,
he had the right to be in there, waiting for his pastor to come in a safe place, sheltered, so that he could be counseled about what to do next.
He was arrested for a violent felony.
I understand.
Okay.
And that arrest could have been made outside the church.
Had we just
legally.
had we just walked away, just answer. Had we just walked away?
Nobody asked you to walk away. I asked him to wait. Wait. And look at all the time now you have to stand here in this parking lot and argue with me, but you didn't have 5 minutes to wait.
I had 3 officers that just went to another domestic violence incident, lights and sirens, while we were here.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
At this point,
I cannot believe how callous and heartless she is right now. The one officer just told her that 3 more had to leave lights and sirens going to another domestic violence call, and all she can say is, sorry. Oh, well, sorry. The reason why they can talk to you is because the suspect is already in custody in the backseat of a car. I'm a Christian, and I believe in respecting my fellow man and treating everyone with respect, but I'm sorry. If you're a pastor, you need to set a better example and show more compassion than what you just did.
Does not justify you doing what you did.
I'm just trying to talk to
It doesn't just. I know what you did. I understand what you did. What you don't seem to understand is what you did is illegal.
I understand.
That's the part you guys just have the barrier up. You don't get to do that. I could have walked him out and put him in your custody. He could have walked out on his own.
How do you know that you weren't in danger, ma'am?
I know.
How?
I know.
How?
I know
Because
this
she
young
knows
man.
the young man.
I know him, and you don't.
This
young man.
And there are a lot of people.
The only
who know
thing that
this
we
young
know
man.
about this young man is that he
And
assaulted his mother to the point where she had to go to the hospital. That he ripped the phone out of her hands and assaulted her with it. He hit her with the phone. Okay? We have a violent domestic while she's trying to dial 911. He interfered with all of that.
Yes,
okay?
he told me he did that.
All right, so I understand
Do you
that.
understand the meaning of the word sanctuary?
I understand
You
that.
know,
It's
you
a
don't.
safe place.
It means you don't have.
Exactly.
You have zero rights in that building.
These three individuals are so wrong. The practice of sanctuary is not legally upheld here in the USA. There is no federal law, there is no state law, there is no city ordinance or county ordinance that allows that. Yes, it was legally binding in the Middle Ages and in Europe and in the 1800s and the early 1900s here. However, if it was still to be being a practice withheld here in this fine country of ours, any criminal could commit any heinous act and run into a church and claim sanctuary, and they wouldn't be able to be prosecuted. We would have anarchy in the streets at that point.
Zero rights. I don't care who let you in. Nobody told you to arrest that man.
Ma'am,
nobody
the
invited
rest of
you
his
in
family,
to arrest that
the rest
man.
of his family at this point is not in danger anymore.
And this
okay, so I'm
church-
sorry that we may have violated.
You be sorry all you want. You have not heard the end of this. It's going to get ugly. You
Okay.
didn't have the right to do that.
Ma'am,
You
we had
didn't.
to take a
And
domestic
I'm
violence
gonna
suspect
stand up.
into custody.
Yes, you do.
Okay?
Of course
We had
you do.
we had that duty.
Of course you do. And
Okay?
it's not either or like you want to make it. It's not either or like you would like it to be.
I'm just telling you that that's
It's
the
not
safer play.
either or the way
That's
you'd like
the
to play
safer
it out
play,
to
ma'am.
be. The reality is that is a sanctuary and you have no authority.
We didn't force our way into the church.
You didn't. But
didn't
you
force
were
our way into the
asked
church.
by the pastor of the church
Were you
not
here?
to do that, to wait.
Ma'am, were
I
you
was
here?
5 minutes away.
But we don't. Our timeline isn't on whether or not the pastor is
Sorry,
5 or 10
you've
minutes
got
away.
all this time.
Once he's
You've
in
got all
custody.
this time.
Once he's in custody, yes.
He
As a
was
supervisor, I'm
going
here to speak with you.
nowhere. He was going nowhere.
How can
And
you say that? And,
And
what if he
had
did?
walked out of the building, you could have
What if-
arrested
wasn't
him.
unaccounted
What if he did? Then we have a family that's
stop
terrified.
it. I'm
No,
done with this.
If
Why?
you were
I'm done
here,
with this.
he was here.
Okay.
If he had walked out of the building,
All right.
you had every right to arrest him. When he's in that building,
Ma'am.
you
You have no
right.
authority.
Wrong!
None.
We did not force our way into the
I
church.
didn't say you did.
matter of fact, we were welcomed into the church.
Nobody invited you to come in. They opened the door for you. You come in with all your authority that you don't have, and they don't know you don't have any authority.
Right.
But you know you don't have any, and you exercise
Any authority
it
to
anyway.
arrest a felony
you have
suspect?
no authority in that building.
Okay.
I am the pastor of this church.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him to wait. Not happening today. You violated your own authority. You violated the law that you are supposed to be enforcing.
Okay.
And that's not okay.
All right.
That
Well,
is not okay.
His family is a little bit safer because he's now in custody.
The
all right?
whole world is safer. And you want to know something? Everybody in this church was just fine. There have been a whole bunch of people here all day. The young man
Yeah.
didn't touch anybody.
We're forgetting that there's a victim
He
here,
was sitting
ma'am.
and doing a puzzle. I am not forgetting anything. You're
you seem to
forgetting
be.
that is a church.
We're forgetting that there's a domestic violence victim that's in the hospital right now that was assaulted
I'm
with a
not
phone.
forgetting anything.
Okay.
The young
All right.
man would have been counseled by his pastor to call an attorney, to go out and turn himself in to the police.
At that
but
point,
for you to come
him
in,
turning himself in is off the table at that point, man.
for you to come in and arrest him in that church is
Mm-hmm.
a violation of his rights.
Violation of
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Violation of his. Yes, because you want to know something? Even people in jail Even people in prison have rights.
Man, please.
Even people in prison have rights.
I'm not saying that he doesn't have rights.
He had every right to sit at that church without being arrested in the church. That is his right in this country. That is his right.
Well, at that point,
you don't have to like it.
We had to apprehend the suspect, and that's that. All right?
And that's where the video ends. Looking into it, she was relieved of her duties as pastor at that church. I do not know the outcome of the young man who committed the domestic violence. However, I'm fairly certain he was found guilty. If you guys like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up and a comment because it helps me with the algorithm. And don't forget, there will be a link in the description box to subscribe to Really Cool News, Jim Finch's YouTube channel, where he puts up daily uploads of craziness that happens all over YouTube when it comes to frauditors, soft SIDS, and, well, all kinds of good stuff. With all that being said, be well, be safe, and I'll see you guys next time. And a special thank you to all members of the news team. Without your guys' continuous ongoing support, I couldn't keep this channel going, and I want to thank you all personally from the